Thank you and welcome back to the Law and Crime Network. If you are just now joining us, I'm Linda Kenny Bodden, and I'll be with you until 3 o'clock today, Eastern Time. The trial of doomsday cult mom Lori Vallow Daybell is nearing its end, and she is charged, as you know, with the murders of her two youngest children, that is Tylee and JJ, and conspiracy in the death of her husband's first wife, Tammy Daybell. Our very own Gigi McKelvey has been at that courthouse and now joins us from outside that Ada County Courthouse in Boise, Idaho, to recap the latest. Gigi, good afternoon. And I want to ask you first off the bat, there is somebody on the stand. Tell us about the testimony from former FBI Special Agent Douglas Hart.
Well, we're starting to get into the conspiracy part for sure. I've been waiting on it, and of course they save it for one of the last witnesses. Essentially what he's been doing all morning is showing that when it came to inquiring about death percentages, there's a certain number that you have to reach to when you have to die, essentially. And all of the inquiries so far have come from Lori asking Chad, what percentage is JJ at? What percentage is Tammy at? And a couple of times, what percentage is Tylee at?
Interesting, because they don't mention themselves, do they? But how significant was that testimony for the state in light of that may be part of the religion defense we're hearing about?
I think it's significant because up until this point, a lot of this has really centered around Chad and Alex regarding the actual murders, with the exception of that hair on the duct tape that was mentioned last week in court, which was pretty explosive. It does tie her to the body in some way.
Which body?
But these text messages show
Gigi, for those of us
JJ's body.
Okay,
sorry.
Go ahead.
Yeah, for JJ's body, there was one piece of her hair found wrapped in the duct tape with his body. And the defense didn't really argue that. You would think they would say, well, she was his mother. They lived together, but they didn't. But what today shows is her being active and her initiating these questions to Chad. What percentage are they at? In other words, we need to get this on the road. There are obstacles, according to Chad. Charles, Tammy, Tylee, and JJ were obstacles to them being together, and we're starting to see Lori seeing it that way now through these text messages.
Yes, and I know the word obstacle was used in the text messages, but there were also additional ones, including racy ones and all. Tell us about those between Chad and Lori, because there were a lot, weren't there?
There were a few, yeah. It's been a little uncomfortable at times in there. So we heard some pretty personal details about pet names and things like that. Just a lot of I love yous, portaling to see you, that kind of thing. Just it really kind of, to me, reminds me of middle school stuff. It's just laughable. The jury, I've seen a couple try not to laugh. I've seen them kind of biting their bottom lip. It's hard to take it seriously, but this was their world that they lived in.
Yeah, I mean, you've answered what the jury did in reaction to that, but the jury did have some other pretty bad reactions towards the defendant, Lori Vallow Daybell, at some point. What were those, if you know?
There's been a few where she talks about Tylee, and one of the ways that she reconciles Tylee has gone dark is that Tylee cleaned her room and was acting good, which unfortunately for Tylee, she couldn't do anything right. If she was mouthing to her mom like a lot of teenagers do, she was dark. If she was cleaning her room and trying to be helpful, she was dark. That really struck with the jurors. They really were watching Lori to see any kind of reaction. She's mostly kept her head down today. I really haven't seen her acknowledge the witness or look up at all.
Yeah, pretty strange, obviously, that you're going to have your daughter killed because she was cleaning her room. I'm sure that most mothers would be happy about that. But, you know, the jury obviously did have their reaction. But there have been some text messages and some testimony that, to me, indicated that Lori had more to do with these murders and wasn't the innocent ride-along victim who we saw a couple times was incompetent to stand trial, that she almost could be the mastermind. Talk to me.
Well, I think the biggest thing is you start to see the manipulation that Lori was using on Chad to get him to hurry up and get rid of Tammy. There were several messages of, I just can't be with you. You need to be with your family and be happy, that kind of thing. And you see that as just what she's doing is instilling this fear into Chad that he's going to lose his blonde goddess lover, his, otherworldly wife. if he doesn't hurry up and take care of his wife. That's been the theme, and you've seen that 2 or 3 times in several different text messages spanning different times, where she's kind of trying to end it, but really we all know it's just pressure to get him to take care of Tammy Daybell so they can finally be together.
And Gigi, I know you have to get back into that courthouse, but I want to ask you one final question. The prosecution opened up with the theme of this case for Lori Vallow Daybell being money, power, and sex. Have they, shall we say, made their promises, kept to the jury that that's what this case is about?
I think we're getting there, and it's actually a motive I didn't buy into for a very long time. But as the evidence has come out, we've seen it, because we did go into some of the financial things where they're discussing Charles Vallow changing the beneficiary of that $1 million life insurance policy to his sister, Kay Woodcock, who is JJ's grandmother. Charles thought Kay would end up with JJ and would need the money to take care of him over the course of his life. He had autism, and Charles was afraid he would never be able to be independent. So we're starting to see that financial come in, where they're discussing Kay being dark. She had a name. Her entity was called Rhonda. So we're learning new things today, that not only did Kay get the beneficiary, which she said she didn't want. She didn't ask for that role, but Charles trusted her with it. But of course, because of that, she's deemed dark. And just like everybody else in Lori's world, that doesn't serve her.
Yeah, and Gigi McKelvey, I want to thank you very much. I know you are going back to that courthouse to keep up, and I know that hopefully we will have closing sometime this week, maybe Wednesday, maybe a verdict by the end of the week. But you're on top of it. You'll give us the first notice. Thank you so very much.
Thank you.
And we're going to take a quick break here at the network ourselves. But when we come back, we'll be talking with our guests about what they just heard from Gigi McKelvey about this case of another Mother of the Year, Lori Vallow Daybell. Stay with us.